Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are getting into a book that has really changed the game for personal finance. Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money.
It's a fantastic one.
It is. And if you're here hoping for, a lesson on complex formulas or stock picking, I have to stop you.
Yeah, this isn't that kind of deep dive.
No. Our mission is all about human behavior. We're pulling out the insights that show your mindset, your temperament, matters so much more than what's in your spreadsheet.
That's the whole thesis of the book, really. Housel's main argument is that doing well with money has almost nothing to do with how smart you are.
Right.
It's all about how you behave. We've been teaching finance like it's physics, with all these hard rules and laws. But it's not. It's psychology. It's messy. It's full of emotion and nuance.
And he kicks it off with this incredible, this perfect contrast. The story of Ronald Read versus Richard Fuscone. Can you walk us through that? It really sets the stage.
Oh, it's the perfect example. So Ronald Read was a janitor, a gas station attendant in Vermont. Didn't make a lot of money.
A regular guy?
A completely regular guy. He just saved what little he could, put it into solid blue chip stocks, and then he just waited for decades.
He did the hardest part, which is nothing.
Exactly. And when he passed away, this humble janitor had over $8 million. All through patience.
$8 million. That's incredible.
Yeah, compare that to Richard Fuscone. This guy is the total opposite. Harvard educated, a top executive at Merrill Lynch, the definition of financial success.
He's the guy you'd expect to have the $8 million.
You'd expect him to have $80 million, and he was wealthy, retired early. But then 2008 hits, and all the massive debt he'd taken on for his 18,000 square foot mansion, it just wiped him out. Bankruptcy.
So the janitor wins, the Harvard exec goes bust, the education gap, the experience, none of it mattered in the end. So what was the difference?
It was survival and perspective. Read had patience and, crucially, no greed. He didn't need to look rich. Fuscone had all the brains in the world, but he lacked the behavioral skills to just survive a downturn.
So the lesson for you listening is that finance is one of the only fields where a total amateur can crush an expert, just by having their behavior in check.
That's it, exactly.
Okay, so that perfectly sets up the first big idea, the power of compounding.
Right.
We're so bad at understanding it. We get linear thinking, 8 plus 8 plus 8.
Right, that's easy.
But exponential growth, 8 times 8 times 8, our brains just short circuit.
Our intuition totally fails us. House says the best investing book would just be titled, Shut Up and Wait. Because the magic isn't in getting the highest return this year.
No.
It's the length of time you let it work. I mean, look at Warren Buffett. 95% of his net worth came after his 60th birthday.
Wow, 95%. That just reframes everything. The real skill isn't being a genius stock picker. It's just surviving long enough to get to those later years.
And that leads right into his next point, the difference between getting wealthy and staying wealthy.
Yes, and they're two completely different things.
Completely different. The book says they require opposite mindsets.
I find this chapter so fascinating because the very things that help you get rich, taking risks, being optimistic, are often the things that make you lose it all.
Precisely. Getting money means you have to be bold. But staying wealthy, that takes humility, paranoia even. You have to be frugal and accept that maybe your early success was just luck.
You have to be afraid of going broke.
You have to be. Which brings us to the ultimate cautionary tale here. Jesse Livermore.
The boy plunger.
Maybe the greatest trader of his time.
Yeah.
In the 1929 crash, he shorted the market and made what would be like $3 billion today.
Just an insane amount of money and skill. So what happened?
He couldn't stop. He was so confident, so sure of his own genius that he just kept making bigger and bigger bets with leverage.
And he lost it.
Lost everything. He was a master at getting wealthy, but he failed the survival test. It's a tragic story. He eventually took his own life.
So if Livermore is the story of arrogance, Buffett is the story of endurance. His secret isn't genius, it's longevity.
It's just surviving. The man has lived through 14 recessions. He avoided debt. He protected his reputation. The key skill, as Housewell puts it, isn't making brilliant decisions. It's consistently not screwing up.
And we even see that with one of his partners, right, Rick Guerin. He was smart, just like Buffett and Munger.
Just as smart, but the book says he was in a hurry.
In a hurry.
Yeah. He's a ton of margin debt, borrowed money. to try and speed up his returns. Then the 73-74 crash hit. He got a margin call and was forced to sell everything at the absolute bottom.
He broke the chain of
He
compounding.
broke the chain. So the actionable insight here is pretty stark. The goal can't be to get the highest returns. The goal has to be to become financially unbreakable.
So you can stick around long enough for the magic to happen.
That's the whole game.
Okay, so that's the how patience, survival. But what about the why? Why are we even doing this? And that brings us to what Housel says is the highest dividend money pays.
Freedom, control. He quotes this psychologist, Angus Campbell, who found that a strong sense of controlling your life is a better predictor of happiness than pretty much any other objective factor.
That's huge. So it's not your salary or the size of your house. It's the feeling that you're in the driver's seat of your own life.
Exactly. And that is money's greatest value. It buys you control over your time. And we're not even talking about being never work again rich.
Right. Just having a little bit of a cushion.
A little cushion. Enough savings so you can take a day off when your kid is sick without panicking about the lost pay.
Or if you get laid off, you can actually wait for a good job instead of grabbing the first thing that comes along.
Yes. That control over your time and your options is life-changing. It lowers your stress, improves your well-being. It's everything.
Which leads perfectly into a couple of really human behavioral traps, the man in the car paradox, and this idea that wealth is what you don't see.
The paradox is brilliant. You see someone drive by in a Ferrari, you think, wow, I should admire that person.
I mean, yeah, that's what I think. You assume they're successful, cool, whatever.
But what you're really thinking, Hazel says, is, wow, if I had that car, people would think I'm cool. You're not admiring the driver. You're admiring the car and imagining yourself in it. The person is invisible, so the money they spent to get your admiration, it completely failed.
And that ties right into the difference between being rich and being wealthy.
Totally. Being rich is your current income. It's having enough money to make the monthly payment on that Ferrari. But wealth is hidden. It's the money you didn't spend.
It's the nice car you didn't buy.
Exactly. Wealth is the financial assets in your account, compounding quietly. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money.
Which means the most important lever you can pull isn't your income or your investment returns, it's your savings rate.
Absolutely. It's the one thing you have almost total control over right now. You don't need a bull market. You can just decide to spend less.
I think the most powerful idea here, for me, was that saving doesn't actually need a goal. You know, we're always told to save for a house or for retirement.
Right. But Housel says you should just save for saving's sake.
Why?
Because it's a hedge against life's inevitable ability to surprise the hell out of you at the worst possible moment.
Okay, but what about a young person? Shouldn't they be investing every penny? Leaving cash in a bank account earning 0% feels wrong.
It feels wrong, but you have to think about the hidden return. The return on that cash isn't the interest rate. It's the flexibility. It's the peace of mind. It's the ability to survive a job loss or seize a great opportunity when everyone else is forced to sell.
So you're trading a small financial return for an enormous psychological one.
An infinite psychological return. Optionality is priceless.
That reframes the whole idea of an emergency fund. Okay, let's talk about planning. The book argues for being reasonable over rational. What does that mean?
It's a huge insight. A rational plan on a spreadsheet might be mathematically perfect. It might tell you to use a lot of leverage because over 100 years, that produces the best outcome.
But if that plan bankrupts you in year 3, the other 97 years don't matter.
Exactly. The rational plan is useless if you can't stick with it. A reasonable plan is one that you can actually follow emotionally for decades, even if it's not perfect on paper.
Because sticking with it is what counts.
It's the only thing that counts. Because any 20-year period in the U.S. market has historically always made money. You just have to be able to stay in the game for 20 years.
And to stay in the game, you need what he calls room for error.
A margin of safety. Think about a blackjack player counting cards. Even when they have an edge, they never bet their whole stack on one hand.
Because they could still lose that hand.
They could. They will have streaks of bad luck. The room for error lets you survive the bad luck so your long-term edge can play out.
And it's not just for risks you can see, like a market crash.
No, it's also for the unknown unknowns. The book uses this wild example from World War II where German tanks were being disabled by mice.
Mice.
Yeah, mice chewing through the wiring inside the tanks. You can plan for enemy fire, but you can't plan for mice. Room for error is your protection against the financial equivalent of mice.
I love that. So that safety margin helps you pay the price of admission for long-term returns. And the book is clear that price is high.
It's dreadfully high. The S&P 500 has been an incredible wealth creation machine, but the cost has been brutal short-term volatility. The market's dropped more than 10% from its high over 100 times in the last 50 years.
That pain, that fear,
Yeah,
that's the price.
that's the price. And the key is to reframe that price in your head. You have to stop seeing it as a fine.
A fine for doing something wrong.
Yeah. If you see it as a fine, you panic and you sell. You have to see it as a fee, like a ticket to Disneyland. The fee is the cost you knowingly pay to get the long-term reward. You accept it, you pay it, and you stay on the ride.
That mindset shift is probably worth the price of the book alone.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Let's pull together the core lessons here. The goal isn't the money itself. The goal is independence. It's waking up and knowing you control your day.
And getting there is all about behavior. So first, big takeaway. Be nicer and less flashy. The respect you crave doesn't come from a fancy watch. It comes from kindness.
Second, avoid the extremes.
Right. Extreme frugality or extreme workaholism. Both raise your odds of regret later on because your goals are going to change. Balance gives you the endurance you need for the long haul.
And last, define your game. Know your time horizon, know your strategy, and then just tune out the noise from people who are playing a totally different game.
Yeah, don't take advice from a day trader if you're a buy and hold investor for retirement.
So a final thought to leave everyone with. It comes from this idea in the book, The Seduction of Pessimism. Pessimism always sounds smarter, doesn't it? Doom and gloom sounds so insightful.
It does because bad news happens fast and loud. Progress happens slowly and quietly. So pessimism gets the headlines. But the book argues that optimism, just the simple belief that the odds are in your favor over the long run, is the only rational bet.
Because the world is always surprising. And the right lesson to learn from surprises is that you can't predict them. All you can do is build that room for error, control your behavior, and have the endurance to let the positive surprises compound over time.
Focus on surviving, not just succeeding. Until next time.